All right. Good afternoon. This is your brother Daniel. I'm making this video today to briefly speak about a subject that, if anybody's been watching Kabir's YouTube, you know well. Just a quick backdrop. I know I've known Kabir for many years now. Excuse me, very good brother of mine. And he wanted me to come on today just to share my experience with witnessing what's been going on in his life the last year, really. So he shared a lot of information with me regarding this situation. But like I've shared on previous videos, I'm the type of guy that I never just take somebody's word for something. I always investigate. If it's important to me, I'm going to investigate it. And so he gave me permission, in fact, asked me to speak about this. So that I'm going to do. Let me also start by saying this. I'm not here to bash anybody, but I will speak the truth. I will tell you exactly what I saw, and I'll tell you exactly what, I've witnessed these last months, walking with Kabir through this. So first, I'll just start off about how I met Eileen, his wife. Obviously, I met her through Kabir once before in Green Bay. It was very brief. And then after that, we went to a Christian conference many years ago called PAO. And when we were at this conference, I got to speak with Eileen a little bit more there. So that's how I met Eileen. Seen her many times, in Green Bay when I played with me and Kabir played together. Seen her many, many times, but I actually got time to speak with her when we were at PAO. Don't mind me if my eyes look like they're dropping on and off. I'm not used to looking at this little camera up here. So I'm getting used to this, this computer. But, and I took notes because I don't want to ramble on, but I want to make sure that I hit every area. What I saw. So I'm going to be looking down quite a bit too. This was around the time when this situation started to happen. This was around the time when Kabir first sent me this video. Kabir is actually the guy that that the Father used to lead me into the truth. As you saw in my other videos, it started with Kabir just sending me a very quick video. And I went off listening to this video and reading through my Bible, which confirmed a lot of things. And it really opened up the conversation. So me and Kabir had been talking, through this, as he sent me this video, and I was amazed at what I was seeing. So I was calling back and forth. But here it was a couple months later, and now I know definitely it was the Holy Spirit. I called Kabir one day, and when I called him, all I said to him was, "Brother, I felt like I need to be praying for you and your wife." And he was like, "Yeah." And then he told me, "Well, she left me." And obviously I was like, "What?" When he told me that, I was like, "She left you? What do you mean she left you, right?" And he started to tell me a little bit about the situation. And I found him at that time being very, very defensive. Let's say that. He was saying what he was saying, and he was like, "Look, man, this is what was happening. I got proof. This is what happened." And he was like, "I'm not crazy. I'm not." And I'm like, "Kabir, like, slow down, And obviously I know now why he was being that way, because as he's explaining in videos, people were shooting darts at him from every single angle. Every single angle they were shooting at him. So naturally he was defensive. Especially anybody that knows Kabir. If you know Kabir, you know Kabir does things 110%. Especially if it's something that he's really, really interested in, he goes full board at it. That's just the nature of Kabir. That's why I really, really like Kabir. Because he's responsible. He's a man with integrity. When he does things, he wants to do things the right way. He wants to be the best at whatever he does. And so when he kept saying, I have proof, what's going on, and me being me, a lot of people will come to know me that follow this YouTube page will come to know that I'm always one that says this: show me. I always say, show me. It used to be a joke when I was a little younger, but I always tell people, show me, because I'm not going off of what you say. So, and that's where it all started. I was always one to say the same thing. It's always two sides to a story. Well, me not having access to call Eileen, which she probably would have wanted to speak to me anyway about this situation. But let's just say this. He sent me the evidence. Okay? So, when he first sent me this evidence, he sent me 77 pages of texts. 77 pages of texts. Now, at the time, of course, I'm like, okay, I got off the phone with him and I begin to read these texts. And, I mean, there were people all over this 77 pages, but it was one lady who, I'm going to just be blunt and saying, not a lady, but a devil herself. This lady, I don't know what her name was, but I've never seen no more manipulation. I mean, it was just wicked on every single level. And here it is, I'm sitting there reading through these texts, and I'm like, wait a minute, man. I'm like, doesn't this lady see what I'm like, doesn't Eileen see what this lady trying to do? And I'm reading through these texts, and it was like every time Eileen even inched towards obeying her husband, it was like, nope. She just pulled her back. Like, nope. And it was really, really irritating me, because the first thing I thought was, man, this lady's just so jealous. Obviously, if you know Kabir, Kabir's done very, very well for himself. So his family is very, very well off. And the first thing I'm like, man, this lady's just jealous, man. It's just jealousy and envy. But when I really, really started to sense the evil even more was the fact that she kept making the statement, well, I'll be praying for you. Oh, we're going to go to prayer with this. I'll be praying for safe travels. All of these things she kept saying. And as I'm reading through these texts, I was just asked the question, like, who are you praying to? Who are you praying to? Because it clearly can't be Yah. Because you are literally driving a stake in this man's house. So who are you really praying to? And it was really, really irritating me as I was going through these text messages. And just a few things that stuck out on the text messages were, number one was when I mentioned a minute ago how Eileen was about to give in, right? And one of them was about the head cover. She was kind of like giving into it, like, well, maybe, this is what I'm supposed to do. Maybe, but it was like, boom, no, reel her back in. Just constantly recommending that he just disobey, dishonor, no loyalty, nothing. This lady was just chopping every single time, every attempt. That's the first thing I noticed. And I mean, it was going on for pages and pages and pages. Another thing that stuck out to me is at the time, around that time, we had just finished a class up in Green Bay called Initiative 1, ran by Fred Johnson. Okay. So there was a couple other brothers there, and just earlier in the text, one of the brothers, he's a marriage counselor, okay, at his church. And man, she was just praising this guy in the text messages. Oh, maybe he'll speak to him, and maybe he'll come to his senses, and maybe this and maybe that, and then you really didn't hear anything else about him until pages and pages later, he texted her back and said to her, basically, you need to obey your husband. You need to stop telling everyone. Because as I told you earlier in these texts, it was just showing person after person after person after person. And then this she was just telling people all over the place. And not only that, she was telling this lady, this devil that she was speaking to, how she was telling everybody. And mentioning the other people that she was hoping would speak to him. So you can clearly see she was methodically going through everywhere, slandering this man's name all over the daggone city of Green Bay. Probably all over Wisconsin, wherever these people reside. But when he recommended to her that she stop telling everybody and go obey her husband, then the next text, she screenshotted it and sent it to this devil that she was speaking to. And it quickly went from, oh, he's a great guy, maybe he'll speak to him, maybe he'll get him back to his senses, to what does he know? What does he mean I'm telling everybody? He doesn't even know how does he know I'm telling people? He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then that quickly shut him down. And I found that really amazing because once again, what that was showing me was she'll speak to whoever was going to tell her what she wanted to hear. That was just it. There was not one time in all of these text messages where any of these people just be like, hey, you're wrong. I don't know. That's not how any relationship I ever had. Any relationship I ever had that ever lasted, we had our tough times where somebody would have to tell you flat out wrong. Well, I had to tell somebody that they flat out wrong. So you could tell these people weren't here for her best interest. Bottom line. And obviously, as I'm reading through these texts, another thing that really, really stuck out to me was the part of the texts where her and this lady were literally sitting and trying to conjure up a lie to give her an excuse to leave. In fact, what they said was, what grounds do I have? What grounds do I have? Because she knew she had nothing that could justify the actions of her wanting to just leave her husband. And when you read constantly through it, it was all the same thing, which was because he wanted to go down to Tennessee to see how Straightway Truth did the Shabbat. That was literally it. Over and over and over. Not one mention of abuse. Not one mention of him acting crazy. Not one mention of him being irresponsible. Not one mention of him. I mean, what are the other reasons people split up? Adultery or any of those things. None of that. It was all about him wanting to keep the Shabbat and wanting to know how to do it. So I kept seeing that over and over and over and over in these texts. And mind you, 77 pages of text is a whole lot of texts to be reading through. But the more and more and more I read them, I just saw myself getting vexed. I was tired. I was tired. I was upset. I was frustrated. And not only that, I was really, really angry at whoever this lady is. Because, I mean, this lady here is just flat out evil. And I remember I kept thinking to myself, like, where in the world is your husband? Who do you live with? Like, how do you just have time to just be ripping up other people's homes? Like, what are you doing? And it kept coming to my mind over and over and over as I was reading them. Sat down with my wife, was going through it over and over, and my wife was she was highly upset. As I'm reading these texts, these pages and pages of texts, she was highly upset about it as well. And she just said it flat out. She was like, all it is, Eileen is a spoiled brat. And then she started blaming Kabir. Kabir just gave that woman everything she wanted. Because she's just a spoiled brat. She's just spoiled. She sounded like a spoiled brat. And my wife was very, very angry as well as we were going through these texts together. So a little while after, I'm going down my list here because I wanted to make sure my thoughts were ordered. A little while after, Kabir had invited me to come up to Green Bay. He wanted me to meet Pastor Corey because me and him are on the same line of business. So he wanted me to come up there and meet him, and then as well just to meet the saints, because I've never been around real true Israel. I've never been around to see people really walk this thing out. So he said, hey, you ought to come up here for the Shabbat. So, and this was the Shabbat right before Super Bowl. So, me and my family drove up and we went up there, had an awesome, awesome time. That's where I met a lot of the saints and a lot of brothers, their wives. I mean, Pastor Corey preached an amazing message. Deliverance was going on. I mean, it was a time. It was so good. In fact, I was supposed to leave the next day, which was the first day. I was supposed to leave But I didn't end up leaving because I just wanted to stay. We didn't want to go. We was like, all right, let's just stay one more day. And then, like I said, the Super Bowl was coming on that night, so we knew we would all sit and watch it together. And so we didn't end up leaving. Later on that day, I started to see, Kabir get a little excited because he was saying, his kids were coming over. So, and I was excited too because I wanted to see his boys again, and his children. Gotta stop saying kids, his children. So when they all came over the house, me being me, I wanted to speak to Eileen. So I went outside. It was freezing cold, a bunch of snow everywhere. I went outside and I sat outside and spoke with Eileen. She came out the van, and when she got out, I just said, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on?" And I told her, I said, I feel so uncomfortable right now in this moment. I said, because here it is, I'm in your home, this huge home, and I haven't seen you nor the children. Obviously, I know a little bit about the situation. I'm like, wow. I'm like, what's going on? And the only thing she kept repeating was, you just don't understand. You just don't understand. It was immediately attack mode. That was one thing that really rubbed me wrong at first. It was, boom, this is him. This is what he's doing. Him. One thing I know about, especially being married, is you got to be able to say when you're wrong too. But it was just boom, attack. And you just don't understand. You don't understand. Kabir is very, very good at manipulating things and twisting people. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And I quickly reminded her. I said, what you know about me is Kabir's just not going to come tell me anything. Okay? Kabir knows that he can't just come tell me anything because he knows I'm going to investigate. And I'll be like, wait a minute. Slow down and let me evaluate what you're talking about and test what you're talking about. And Kabir does the same to me. So, and I was explaining to her that Kabir just can't throw anything over my head. And then she quickly went from there to the next statement, which was, you just don't understand the abuse. You just don't understand the abuse. And when I sat there, I said, the abuse. And then she just said, you don't understand. You don't understand. I said, what abuse? What abuse? And then she did like this. You just don't understand. And started doing that and started doing the what's them shows my mom used to watch, them soap operas, the soap opera cries. I used to call it that. She started doing all that. And I'm sitting there like, hold on, man. And she knew she could, you can usually see my facial expressions, what I'm thinking. Because what she didn't know is I just read 77 pages of Texas. And also, in them 77 pages of Texas, there was not one mention of abuse of any kind. Not to her, not to the kids, not to the dogs, not to nothing about abuse. But she just kept harping on abuse. This battered women syndrome. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. So I went back to it again. I asked her, what abuse? And then I asked her, is he abusing you? Is he hitting you? And she said to me, no. Then I said, then what abuse? She said, you just don't understand. I said, what abuse? She said, the kids. He's abusing the kids. And immediately when she said that, it was just like, it was Charlie Brown. It was just like, at that point, because I couldn't hear nothing she said. I just saw her mouth moving. Because immediately, my mind went back to about a year prior. Now, if you remember one of the other videos I posted, about a year so prior, I had also came up to Green Bay because I did speaking all over the United States. And it happened that this week where I was speaking in Green Bay, I end up staying at Kabir's house. And anybody that knows anything about him, they know that Kabir built that home for ministry and has guest homes on the property as well. And he allowed me to stay at his house, in one of his guest homes. So I was up there for that. And I remember that Sunday, I was getting ready to leave, but I wanted to stay because I wanted to go to church with Kabir. So I think they had already left, and I had, shot him a text and said, hey, I want to go to your church. Can you give me the address? So I went to the church, and there were certain things I noticed immediately when I walked in. When I walked in and I sat down and I found Kabir, I saw all of his children sitting down. And not one time throughout the whole entire service, not one time did I ever have to hear him say, sit down, stop talking, get off the floor, stop moving all around. Not one time. They were the most well-behaved, honorable, respectful children I've ever seen. In fact, after the service was over, I asked Kabir about it. I said, man, what do you do? I said, how? Because I got 3 boys. And my boys, they go. Obviously, they're getting a little bit better now because of what he told me. And I noticed something. As soon as I started to talk to him about it, he said, Bajas, you got about 5 minutes. You guys can go ahead and go play with your friends. So they all got up and they went with their friends. And then he started to explain to me, biblically, of how to get your kids under control, what I should be doing, telling me, how I should never have to yell at them. I should be able to call their names softly, and they should be able to hear and obey. And he just started to break this thing down to me. And I was just like, wow. And as he's telling me this, Eileen was there. And she could see the amazement on my face because they know I like this book. I like this word. So when you come to me and you telling me something out of this that is confirming this, and it's something that can help me in life, I'm getting excited. So you can just see the amazement on my face. I generally start busting out laughing when I understand something in this word, because it's joy, right? So I'm sitting there, and she says this statement. She says, oh, he's really, really good with kids. She said, everybody around the church wants to bring their children to Kabir because they call him around here the kid whisperer. And I started laughing. She was like, no, seriously, because he's good with kids. As soon as she says that, another brother's coming around. And he turns around and confirms what she just said. He says, oh, yeah, he is really, really, really good with children. My 2 daughters were acting up. I didn't know they were getting in trouble. I think he said on the school bus, and he didn't know which one of them were getting in trouble, and he didn't know what to do. And he was like, and I contacted Kabir, brought the girls over to the house. They both learned so many valuable things. It was the first time they ever got a spanking in their lives. And then he made this statement, and I haven't had an issue out of any one of them since. Yeah, he's the kid whisperer. So as soon as I heard about the abuse from her, that's exactly what my mind went to. I'm like, man, come on, man. So once again, I usually wear my feelings on my shoulders, as they say. As she's talking and she says the abuse to the children, I'm sitting there like this. I'm just sitting there like this. Because I know that it's not right. Okay, I'm doing something. Come out of there. Close that door for me, buddy. Sorry about that. So, I'm just sitting there like this. She could just see me calling a bluff all over my face. Then this is what happened next. Then it went from the abuse to the kids to, and he's teaching them how to hate white people. He's teaching them not to like white people. And then she made this statement. I mean, come on. All of their friends are white. And I said, wait a minute. I said, Eileen, don't you know that in the house right now, there's a bunch of white people in the house? You just don't understand. You just don't understand, is what came out of her mouth next. She says, he's teaching them to hate white people. And immediately my mind went to, well, it's not that. What he's doing is he understands the fact that he has 7, now 8 young men that are black, and they live in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Not only Green Bay, Wisconsin, they live in America. And if he doesn't instill certain things in them, and they go out here and do anything, they're not going to get the same treatment that a young white male may get in this country. It's just a flat out truth. And as she's saying this stuff, I'm just, and I know she can see it on my face. I know she can. And that's at the time, that's when my wife came outside, and my wife was speaking to her a little bit. But at this time, I mean, my mind is just, it's just going. And then she said one last thing to me. She said, and then the way he speaks to me. She said, the latest one is, he talked to me like I was a dog. We were in the car and he talked to me like I was nothing. He cursed me out like I was a dog. So, me being me, I said, okay. And at that time, it was freezing cold outside, so I couldn't convince her to come inside. So I just went in the house. My wife came in and she drove off. And after that, I went inside and I sat with Kabir in his office, closed the door, and I just told him what I had a conversation about. And then I asked him about the time that he cursed her out. And he said, I did do that. He said, I did. He said, I cursed her out really, really bad. He said, because we were somewhere, I forgot where he said we were, at some banquet or dinner or something. And he said that somebody had came to him and her and kind of like gave him praises. Like, oh, you got, such a great husband, honorable man, things like that. And then she responded like, oh, really, is he? Like just flat out dishonored and disrespected him in front of these people or whoever this person was that they were speaking to. And obviously, anybody who knows, you don't do that. You don't just go dishonor your spouse, just dishonor them in front of people. But not only that, to see what this lady has and you dishonor him like that, oh, really, is he? What? I used to think all the time, like, man, when I go around Kabir, I was like, man, if I'd have listened to a lot of what he was telling me when we were teammates, man, I wish I could have provided for my family the way he did. And now I know that when that man speaks to me about certain things that I need to get in line, I listen and take note of it because he's an example of somebody who does things the right way. So, once again, I understood when he told me. He said, I did. He said, I've never felt more disrespected. And when we got in the car, he said, the whole way home, he said, I cursed her out. And he told me about it. Look back on my notes here. I don't want to go to rambling off. The part about her being racist and the response. And yeah, so like I said, after she saw, I wasn't buying into that mess, man. Because once again, she didn't know that I read 77 pages of texts, let alone the audios that I received later, other things, but I'm not at liberty to speak about. I'm pretty sure he'll speak about it. But there's a whole lot more that it's just really disheartening. And it's just wickedness. At the end of the day, it's just wickedness. Flat out. And it goes to show, once again, the wickedness that's in Christianity. To see all of these people at no point trying to restore this man's family. You hiding his family. You're doing all of these wicked things all over the place. And at no point do you turn around and say, let me help to restore this thing. And they can't say they did because, once again, it's documented, the conversations. There was only one that told her to close her mouth, stop telling everybody, and go sit down under her husband and get it right and obey him. And that one was a great man prior, but now he didn't know anything later on. It was just really, really, it's really, really disturbing to see. And how that man has been slandered all over Wisconsin. Years and years and years and years of what that man built out there. I tell people all the time, Kabir's one of them types. He probably could have like ran for mayor or something in Green Bay and probably won. Probably won easily. And just to see the wickedness and how one woman can just slander this man and drag his name all the way through the mud, all over the state, and then turn around and just wreck this man's home. I know this word say by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. And these wicked Christians up there in Green Bay, not near one of them would listen to this man. There have been times I called him, and this I love the spirit of Elohim, because there are times that I've called Kabir and caught him at just pivotal moments. We're just weeping and just broken, and I'm able to encourage my brother. Well, not me, the word. I'm able to use the word to encourage my brother and see him come out of it. And then hearing the other day where he said, thoughts that were going through his head to hang himself on his banister and all of this stuff. It's just so disheartening. All on the mouthpiece of one woman who's listening to every other person besides her husband while dragging his name through the mud. And I'm going to end this video like this. All of you wicked Christians that did this to this man, the Father in heaven watched and recorded it all. My advice to you is you better get on your face and cry out for repentance, because you will pay for what you did to this man. That's my advice to you. You will pay. Every single one of them. Especially one of them that I respected as well, who would always say, the elephant in the room or the elephant under the table. Take it from under the table and put it on the table. Address it. Address every issue that you have. And you was pivotal in it too. And I read it. Y'all gonna pay. Y'all better get before y'all face before that wrath of the Father come down on you. And not only repent, confess it, and then turn around and go tell Eileen how wrong she is and what she needs to do. And that's all I can say today. Shalom.